Welcome to training. I'm Ian Sanders with Healthcare Unlocked and Oasis Financial Services. Today, what we're going to cover is just election periods for the Affordable Care Act. Now, as you may know, you can only enroll in the ACA plans under certain circumstances. One of the biggest ones is going to be open enrollment. So we're going to talk a little bit about open enrollment, and then we're going to talk about the other times you can enroll individuals outside of the open enrollment period. And that's going to be really important, especially if you want to be successful in this industry, is you can't just work from November 1st to January 15th. You can still continue to build your book of business throughout the year, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. If you do like what you see on the video, like the information that you're getting, it helps you, you want to help others, like, comment to the video, it gets the video out in front of more people. All right, so what we're going to do is just take a look at this document that I created. It's about the ACA election periods and descriptions. It's a very basic document, but we're not going to read it because that's boring. I'm just going to talk about each individual one. So the first one is open enrollment, which happens between November 1st and January 15th. At the time of this video, that's what it was. Now, the reason that's important is that's where you're going to get the most of your business is during that time period. That's when you'll see all the videos on TV, radio. You need to have your plan checked, make sure you're on the right plan, you can enroll. You're going to see all of that happen during that time period because that's going to be the busiest time to enroll. Now, there are some deadlines on it. For instance, December 15th, if people do not enroll before December 15th, their plan will not start January 1st. After December 15th, everything is going to start February 1st. So no matter what you're enrolling them in, it's going to start February 1st. Now, there are some ways to kind of get around that. If they do have a special election period between then and December 31st, you can still get them in January 1st. But we'll talk about the special election periods in a minute. But if it's just the open enrollment period and they miss that December 15th cutoff, they won't be able to start their plan until February 1st, and that's important. Now, the next thing is the special enrollment periods. Now here, this is going to be important because this is when you're going to be able to find opportunities to enroll folks into plans outside of that open enrollment period. So if there's a change in the household, and this can be pretty much anything, marriage and birth are the main ones, but if they adopt, foster care stuff, or they divorce or separate, or if someone passes away, that does open up an enrollment period where they can change plans. If they lose their health coverage for any reason, if it's an employer group plan, Medicare, Medicaid, whatever the case is, if they lose their coverage, then they can go ahead and enroll. Change in residence. So if they change zip code or county, or they're moving because of school, regardless, it's really just if the person is moving, they should be able to get a new election period, especially if the plan is not available where they are, or there's no doctors or the network isn't available. So it's a little broader than Medicare, but they still would need to move zip codes. They can't just move right down the street. The other is gaining U.S. citizenship, leaving incarceration, meaning coming out of jail, and certain other things like AmeriCorps State, National Vista, or National Civilian Community Corps if they stop working for there. But you don't normally see that stuff, honestly. That's not really a thing. Normally, what you'll see is someone coming out of prison. That's a big one. And then gaining U.S. citizenship is another one. Or coming here with a visa at the time of this, they were still able to do that. It may not be a thing by the time you're watching this, but if they did have some type of visa and we're here legally, they could still enroll in a plan. Now, Medicaid and CHIP enrollment. So if the person applies for Medicare or CHIP, then or Medicaid, excuse me, Medicaid or CHIP, then they would be eligible to do that any time of the year. Now, if they're rejected for Medicaid or CHIP, that sparks another enrollment period for the ACA where now they can enroll year round if they apply and then are rejected, or if they were on Medicaid or CHIP and they get moved off, that's another reason. Now, complex healthcare issues is what this says, but really it's if there is some type of emergency or disaster in the area and FEMA declares a disaster, they would then have the ability to switch plans if they're affected by that in that area. Usually you'll actually get emails about this. So if you get an email saying that there's, this particular city is considered a disaster area, then know that you can move people from those plans into other plans if they're in the affected area. And then if the person loses their employer coverage. So a lot of folks will usually use this one if they either lose their job or switch jobs, or if they begin a new job and they don't have coverage there, then they'll sometimes get these types of plans temporarily. But basically, if they lose any of their coverage because of losing their job, it's job related, then they'd be able to use this. So these are some things that will be useful for you when you're working with your clients, especially as you're going through the year, because what it'll look like is open enrollment. It'll be ripping and roaring. But if you're still buying leads or getting referrals and things, there are still ways that you can take advantage of these open enrollment or these special election periods or special enrollment periods. Like for instance, if somebody needs to sign up for a plan and there's no enrollment period, excuse me. Sometimes I use election and enrollment period interchangeably because I also work with Medicare. But sometimes if there's no enrollment period and they apply for Medicaid and get rejected, that will immediately open up one for them. So keep that in mind. There are still ways to grow your book of business outside of the open election period, open enrollment period, excuse me. So hope you enjoyed the video, got something out of it. If you do have any questions, go ahead and send me a comment or a message. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day.